Hello, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Wait a second, let me turn off these lights. The
Okay.
reflection is pretty bad. All right, let's see.
Okay. I'm just trying to pull up my list of pre-asked questions. So how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good.
It's been raining on and off here, but it's all good.
Oh,
It's not cold,
80
it's not
degrees.
warm.
Well, I might not be able to figure out my questions, but I think I remember them all.
Okay.
Somebody said, wait, Gia, I thought you were still in Cali.
Oh, I wish.
Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and I am back. And I have slept, and I am here in New York again. So I guess we could just jump right in.
That sounds good. So, a quick note to everybody. You might want to grab a pen and a piece of paper for this. It's going to be very dense. We're going to talk about different stuff for puppies from A to Z, pretty much, from preparing your home to the puppy, the new puppy, to training the puppy and everything in between. So,
And if you have questions specifically about puppies, you can also type them in the question box, and we will try to get to some.
that is right.
So where do you want to start?
Let's start for preparing your home for the puppy, or you want to start maybe with like picking the right puppy for your family.
Oh, yeah, picking the right puppy. That's a good
Yeah.
one.
Yes.
So I guess where do you start when you pick a puppy?
I
Should you get a
guess
puppy?
that's
Adult dog? I don't know.
right, right. Some people just can't have puppies, you know. It's a lot of work. It's a big commitment, especially for the first year. Waking up at night, you got to take them out every hour and stuff like that. A lot of people can't deal with that. So, yeah, it's not for every person. And we see it a lot where people get puppies and then they get the puppy blues, you know, especially with like the sleepless nights, all the work, accidents inside the house, puppy biting. It can drive you nuts
Yeah.
sometimes. So,
I would say with every puppy I've ever gotten, I have a moment of, oh my God, I made a mistake. Why did I do this? This is terrible. Neon is the first puppy I've ever owned where I wasn't, I wasn't like, oh no, what have I done? Although right now that she's 6 months old, I kind of sometimes have moments where I'm like, what were you thinking, you lunatic?
we all do. We all do. Yeah, so picking the right breed for your family, like depending how active your family is, what are your goals from the dog? Like, what do you want to do with the dog? You want just a pet dog to snuggle with you and your kids, or you want a dog that can go on, I don't know, on long hikes and on camping and or do agility with them, or do I don't know, obedience, stuff like that. Um, One of the big things I feel like the biggest advice is, in addition to choosing the right dog for you and your family, is making sure that the dog does not have resource guarding issues, especially if you have kids. So it's one of the most important thing to ask the breeder and like to get it from a reputable breeder that knows what they're doing and how are the parents around the resources? Have you had previous litters with resource guarding issues? Um, Although with puppies, it's not really conclusive, but they can even test the puppy for resource guarding. Like, I don't know, give them a bone and then take it away just for a test and see how it
Yeah, and I
goes.
think like with puppy culture, a lot of breeders do like a resource guarding protocol. And so they try to prevent resource guarding like right off the bat. So I know my breeder was doing some work with resource guarding. And that's not to say they won't resource guard, in the future. Sometimes you can work really hard at something and a dog can be well bred and they still could have a problem.
Right, right. These are the good, responsible breeders. Not everyone is. So
Yeah.
it's, yeah. Um, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, what were you going to say?
So I was going to say one benefit of adopting an adult dog from a breeder that has a dog that they're rehoming or even a rescue is that you can kind of know personality a little better than when you get a puppy, because it is very hard at 6 or 8 weeks to know what a puppy is going to be as an
Right.
adult. Whereas a 2-year-old dog, you know, if they live in a family or a foster home or you have a really good person evaluating at your shelter, you can generally kind of tell what you're going to be getting. And you can tell what you're going to be getting, especially in a shelter environment, if you have a really solid dog, because if they're solid in a stressful situation like an animal shelter, being handled by city workers, and being surrounded by barking, you can kind of tell if the dog is going to be okay in a home. Whereas you can get a puppy and they can be fine at 8 weeks, and then behaviors can start to develop as they become socially mature.
True. True. Next is preparing your home for the puppy. What are the big tips on that?
I think many people bring home a puppy and they don't have like a crate ready yet, or a playpen. I didn't use a playpen like with Neon this time around. But I'm always surprised when I go to homes, and it's very common. It's not just like once in a while somebody has a puppy loose. It's all the time. We see people bring a puppy home and the puppy is literally running around the house loose, which would be like having a baby without a diaper on, just wandering around all day. Um, so I think one big preparation is like having a crate and having it set up and being committed to crate training, and being like ready to go.
Right. Um, you already mentioned it, like crate is, which is the next topic, which is equipment. Like, what do you need when you get a puppy home? Like, one of the big things is crate. Crate training is the most important piece of equipment to use for puppies. I mean, it helps you with different kinds of behaviors, with potty training, with, I mean, better sleep. Like, sleep is really important for puppies, and a lot of people don't realize that. And puppies are like little kids. They can go on all day, all night. You know, they don't even realize that they're tired. You know, and it's you gotta kind of make them have their alone time where they can rest and sleep in their crate. Um, Harnesses, baby gates. You got a puppy proof whatever area you're gonna have the puppy in. Like, I don't know, electric wires, stuff like that. Try your best to like make it puppy proof. Um, Harness, collar, um, leashes. I mean, I like to have puppies drag leashes inside the house. You can cut the loop off, buy a cheap leash, cotton leash. Chews, toys, treats, treats everywhere, all around the house, and every single spot in every room, you know, on doorways and stuff like that. And cleaning stuff because accidents are gonna happen.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I recently I recently invested in a rug shampooer. I mean,
Yeah,
adulting. So
yeah.
I just saw a comment scroll by where somebody asked, like, how do we pick between a playpen and a crate, and when is it appropriate to have a playpen versus a crate? So did you use a playpen with Chloe?
I did, but it wasn't an alternative to the crate. So she was crate trained, and also I used so the way I used the crate was basically for obviously potty training and crate training and all of that, and sleeping at night. And also I used to put her in her crate during different times of the day, just so she can spend some alone time. A playpen was in the TV room. It was more like if I wanted to be included with me when I'm watching TV or hanging out, but also she's safe inside her playpen. She has a chew toy or her own thing, you know, inside. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't use a playpen with Neon. I used one with Lev like a lot, and I used one with Georgie. I think with Neon, I used a crate like in a closed room, because I really wanted her to be able to be crated in the downstairs of my house and not even go up into the bedrooms. And I put her crate next to Georgie's crate, and Georgie hadn't even been living in a crate. And so I really just instituted like a new rule where now the girls are like crated in an office together side by side. Never, I would never crate two dogs in the same crate together. That's like dangerous and asking for it, no matter how much they like each other. And I feel like crating them too, in a closed room as opposed to a playpen in a busy area of the house is good, because puppies need a lot of sleep, and many problems that puppies have could be fixed if they were just getting enough sleep, because they need like 18 hours of sleep a day. And
Right.
so many owners have the puppy loose all the time because they're excited, and also because they think the puppy needs to be awake because the puppy is so active. But really, without crating them, what they're creating is like a beast that is an overtired thing with knives in its mouth. And
Very true.
yeah.
Very true. So yeah, like it's what are the first things you focus on when you come home with a puppy? Like before teaching any behaviors or obedience or any of that, what are the most important things in your opinion to teach the puppy?
So when I bring a puppy home, because I have so many animals, like right away I work on the puppy being okay being separated from me and separated from the other pets, and that the crate training and house training. So I like don't really do a ton of obedience training with my puppies, and like Neon hardly knows much. I mean, she knows a lot because she's my dog, but she really doesn't know too much. I rather would focus on getting the basics down of like what it is like to live in my household, and then like the socialization.
Right, right, yeah. Um, I mean, I guess if you focus on, like you said, crate training and potty training, these two are gonna take most of your time. And especially if you want to teach them the life skill of them being comfortable with being in their crate when they're like, when you're not around, it's, and we got some questions regarding that, regarding like how to teach the puppy to be okay, um, like to be okay with being in their crate by themselves. What are the beginnings of that? I know we do like a lot of crate games where we toss a piece of food inside, they go in and I keep tossing food in and out, and like type of thing. And then I close the door a little bit and then I put like a bunch of food in there and they eat the food. So how do you incorporate them seeing the picture of you leaving them for a little bit and coming back?
So because of the nature of like my lifestyle, and because I have other pets, I do not take the slow boat method of like the new force free, like slowly acclimate them to a crate, take weeks or months to get them used to it. That is like pushed a little bit nowadays, but I really don't see it being a great benefit. I personally like have my crate set up when I bring the puppy home. My breeder did do some crate training, but it's an 8-week old puppy, in a new environment. So the puppy is not crate trained, and I basically put my crate in a quiet room, and I immediately start putting the puppy in constantly. I close the door, I close the room, and they're going to cry a little. Of course, if my puppy seemed to have a anxiety disorder or something wrong and was bugging out for a significant amount of time, I would reevaluate the situation and do something differently. But for me, like right away, the puppy is going to be in the crate. I leave them with high value chews and things to do, or like a frozen food toy. But I crate them right away. So I pick them up and put them in. I don't like try to lure them in. I throw a bunch of treats in with them, so that they start to understand when they go in, they're going to be eating while I close the door. But I don't like slowly build up to the crate, because I simply cannot have like a puppy loose with a bunch of adult dogs and
Right,
cats, and
right,
it just wouldn't be safe. And I need to work,
right.
and I need to sleep.
Right, but that is like kind of little specific to your situation. I get it applies to a lot of other
Yeah.
dogs, but with certain dogs, I believe you won't adopt that method strictly, like 100%. You might want to like show them the picture of you moving away from the crate, and then you come back, and then kind of toss some food in there, and then walk away, and then kind of build on that. Right? Is that
You
correct?
can.
Okay, you can or
That
not.
would that would be the nice way of that
Right.
would be the nice way of that would be the kind way of doing things, rather than being like, goodbye, have a good luck.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially like your breeder is awesome, and she already started some crate training. So Neon was already comfortable with the crate, which makes it a lot easier. It's like than just introducing the crate for the first time. It's so which is that's great. I love it. It's if
Yeah.
I'm to get a dog from a breeder, I would choose a breeder that would do some crate training with the dogs.
Yeah.
Um, And hand feeding, what are your thoughts on that? Any benefits with puppies? And the first night coming home, like the first night home, do you recommend for people to put the crate inside their bedroom so like the dog is more comfortable, so they can get a little more sleep maybe, uh, so that the dog's screaming all night long? Because I've had some success with that with certain dogs, the ones that are not having it, like just they can't stand their crate. So having it in the room helped a little bit. What are your thoughts on that?
So I've done it like both ways. So I have two of my older dogs, like Vera, who's still alive. I did not crate train or do crating with at all. Like she slept in my bed, and I didn't start crating her till she was like a bit older or when I was out. And it went fine. And then Lev and Georgie were crated in my bedroom to sleep at night, so that I could wake up and take them out. But I found that it was like really affecting my sleep because I wake up really easily. And in a metal crate, when they get up and dig, it's like I'm constantly being woken up, like every time
Hmm.
they move.
Hmm.
Um, so this time, like the puppy is on a different floor of the house, and that worked
Understood.
okay too. So I think it's personal preference, you know, like some people don't
Right,
want a dog in their bedroom.
right.
I mean, that's okay.
And some people don't want a puppy crying all night when they're not in their
That's
bedroom.
true.
So
Yeah.
pick your poison.
Yeah. It depends on I guess it depends on the puppy. What did you do with your dog?
She was not in the room, so the first few nights were not very pleasant, but I set alarms and I got up at least two times during the night to take her out. Taking water away at like an hour and a half before
Oh yeah.
bedtime helps. Stuff like that. But I definitely set alarms. I don't wait for her to like tell me that she has to go to the bathroom. Because she's little, she's in a recreate. I don't want her to have accidents in a recreate, and then might become a problem where she gets used to going to the bathroom in the crate and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So lots of people, lots of puppies, especially smaller puppies, people do have to like at least set 1 to 2 alarms during the night to wake
yeah.
up and take the puppy out so they don't have an accident. Like for me, with Neon and Georgie both, like I could not have a better a towel in the crate with them because they would pee. But once I took the towel out, which one of my colleagues that's a trainer suggested, she was like, "Why are you giving the puppy something to pee on?" I was like, "Oh, I never thought of it like that." Like once I took the towel out, then I had no more accidents.
Yeah,
Um, and then you can also use, some puppies can handle having a large crate, and some puppies need like literally room to lay down and stand up
right,
and turn around, and that's
right,
it.
right. Yeah, yeah. As long as it's comfortable and they can lie down comfortably and they can stand up, I think keeping it a little kind of the right size is a lot better than giving them a lot of freedom. I mean, if you know your puppy is good, like I don't know, in a few weeks and you see they're not having any accidents, okay, it's fine to give them some more space.
Yeah.
Someone said I put my puppy in the crate and laid my head at the entrance, blocking it, and wait till the puppy falls asleep. Takes around 2 to 7 days. And waking up with alarm, boom, 1 week to nighttime crate train. Okay, he was crate trained in 1 week. Okay,
I
so
mean, some dogs are really easy, and then you
yeah,
feel like you did a good job. And I've gotten definitely cocky with some of my dogs, and come to find out it wasn't me, it was them.
yeah,
Some of them are great.
yeah.
Um, any other things about crate training?
That's a good question. Yeah, sure. Leaving bedding with your dog inside the crate. Um, so it's one of the things that you gotta know what kind of puppy you have. So you give them some stuff like during the day when you're watching them and see if they eat the bedding, if they don't eat the bedding, like if they chew on stuff, if they don't rip stuff apart. So you got to kind of establish a baseline to what kind of dog you have. If they're gonna tear things apart and swallow them, or not.
And then what about crating when you leave or leaving your puppy?
Um,
Segue.
yeah, it's gotta happen, but it's however you gotta know like kind of how long your puppy can hold it and stuff like that. And if you're gonna leave for a while, you gotta have people come and take your puppy out like a dog walker or a neighbor or someone, at least for the puppy to have access to the bathroom. That's which is very important.
So when did you leave your dog alone, like for the first time?
That's a good question. I think it was probably around, it was maybe like, I used to leave her alone for little periods of times, like, I don't know, like an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I started right away. Like I taught her how to be comfortable being alone. She
Okay.
didn't always like it, but I mean, it had to happen. So, and
Yeah, I would say
yeah,
day one, I think I probably left
right,
her to go get something like at 7-Eleven or something like right
right,
away. So many people get really spooked, and I meet clients who their puppy, they've had it for 1 to 2 months, and their puppy
right,
has never, ever, ever been alone in the house or out of their eyesight. And that can
right,
create some real like separation anxiety or isolation, distress.
right.
So we like to leave them alone. I mean, as soon as possible. And if you're worried, you can always get a camera to make sure they're not getting super upset or hurting themselves.
That is true. That is very true. And also, don't leave equipment on your puppy unattended, like collars, tags, harnesses, especially if you're not going to attend them in their crate or X-Pen. I mean, I've heard some horror stories about equipment getting stuck and dogs getting injured or dead from
Yeah.
those things. Yeah, and what's next after crate training and potty training? And what do you think
What
comes
about
after that?
a routine? How do you feel about routines?
I am. I like routines. I think it's very important. It's tough to get in a routine when you first get the dog because you don't know their schedule, how many times they need to go out, how many times, I don't know, how much they need, how much play they need, how much, like random stuff like that. So, but I love routines. I think it's very important. And getting the puppy on a schedule of like specific times of going out, specific times of eating, drinking, playing, like it helps you and them a lot. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Somebody
Yeah.
just asked how to ask a question, and I don't really know how to do that. So if anybody in the comments would like to chime in on how they successfully asked a question, that would be cool. So back to routines. I mean, I have like a routine where they, we wake up in the morning at the same time, and right when I wake up and come down the stairs, they all go out. So we have like that routine. And I certainly like put them to bed around the same time every day. But because my schedule is varied and often because I'm on Zooms and doing stuff at home, like the times change, like I deviate a bunch from routine.
Okay.
Um, so for me personally, it would be very hard for, I guess, I mean, I could, if I really wanted to, like schedule myself and have like a very set routine with the dogs, but often it changes and fluctuates, and I think that helps them to be flexible and not to get upset if
Yeah.
it's like 5 o'clock and I'm on a Zoom and there's no food.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So personal preference.
Of course. And next, I think the big thing is understanding kind of teaching the puppy some of the markers that we use, like teaching them what yes means, teaching them what their name means, like saying their name and then feeding them. That's one of the ways we teach the puppy what its name is. Hand feeding the puppy, teaching the puppy that it's okay to take food out of our hand, kind of teaching them basic luring, stuff like that, like skills that are going to be beneficial later on. We want to start formally teaching them behaviors. Um, and teaching markers, it's like teaching what yes means, which is a reward marker. That's number one. And then teaching them their name, and then teaching a no marker. No marker, typically we teach it by like withholding a reward. If like say your puppy is jumping on you, I might say no and just withhold the reward. Once a puppy sits down or he has all four paws on the ground, I say good or yes, and then I feed them. Simple as that. And then critical developmental periods. What are your
Critical development.
thoughts?
I mean, Do you mean like, I mean, I do believe in the critical social window.
right?
So I think that is very important. And so many puppies miss like a significant portion of that window if they're not with a good breeder or a good foster home, or even not even a good breeder, like if they're not with a good family, because certainly like two family pets can have a puppy, can have puppies like in an enriched environment and provide great socialization without being a dog breeder. But once the puppy's eyes and ears open when they're several weeks old, it's such an important time up until 12 to 16 weeks for the puppies to be exposed to the world and be socialized. And um, so many dogs miss out on that critical period, both where they
Right,
came from and where they go.
right, right. And that's and like typically like with a recommendation that not to take puppies out before they're 16 weeks and they've had all the shots is very, very difficult to do. You know, it's like it's and by then probably the windows are already closed or like almost closing, and it's if you missed that boat, it's going to be very hard to undo the damage that was done. um,
Yeah.
and a lot of people think socialization is about like direct interactions where the puppy has to like directly interact with every dog that he sees on the road or every single stranger that they see, and like and that alone might cause a lot of problems. um, so it's like socialization is not about direct interaction. It could be just a dog seeing stuff from far away, a dog seeing dogs from far away, and then the dog getting rewarded for seeing those things. Um, there's a difference. Some people say that critical periods close at 16 weeks. Some say it's 20 weeks. Like, what are your thoughts on that? When do you think is the right number, or is there a
I
right
mean,
number?
I think puppies that haven't been out by 12 weeks show like significant problems.
Okay.
And I think when we see a 6-month-old puppy that hasn't been socialized, like a very behaviorally stable dog can bounce back if they haven't been socialized at 5 months, but it's like really playing with fire. And so many animals in our society suffer from severe phobias and anxiety and are behaviorally abnormal. And I think, some of that is genetics, but I think a large part of that is the brain cannot like develop adequately if it is not enriched while it is forming. And we know that from
Right.
humans, like
Right.
you do children raised in like a severely
Right.
impoverished orphanage, they do not recover. Like it's
Right.
romantic and nice to think like, oh, everybody has a chance and it can be
Right.
turned around, but we know like the brain cannot
Right.
recover from that. Like,
Right. 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 100%. And
so,
it's yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, I was just going to say I mean, you guys all know that like when I bring home my breeder does a really good job socializing my puppies. My puppy went to multiple new places before I got her. She traveled in an RV before I got her multiple times, and she met many, many children and had a great time with my breeder and met lots of friendly adult dogs and other puppies. And
Right.
she went to a nursing home multiple times. So, my puppy was really set up for success. And then when I brought her home, I posted a ton of me just I tried to take her out to environments that I felt were safe. Like pretty much, I think I socialized her in some way every single day for the first 2 months. And she's not perfect, but I think it shows in her confidence level and how eager she is to interact with people and investigate the world. And
Yeah.
she's not like she's pretty bold, like she'll still get startled by things, but she recovers quickly.
Yeah. 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 And it's we were talking earlier, I believe, about fear periods and the fine line between sensitizing a dog and desensitizing a dog. I know I keep saying this and talking about this, but it's one of the problems that we see is like people are pushing dogs almost too much. And the way I like to put it is like if someone is really terrified of heights and you take them to a cliff and you start pushing them to the edge of the cliff, like, no, 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 it's okay, you're gonna be fine. Let's and just keep pushing them over there. Is that going to make their phobia any better? Is that going to make their fear of heights any better? I highly doubt.
No.
Um, so it's very similar with dogs. There's this mentality where if you see a dog shows some stress around certain things, that you have to keep pushing them and focusing on the problem. And I always say, like, poking the bruise, and it's only going to make it worse.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So it's
I mean,
verse.
Neon didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say Neon, didn't particularly care for other dogs for a period of time. And it would be tempting to be like, holy shit, I have a dog that like doesn't like other dogs. This is not good. And so it could be tempting, especially as a professional, to like start hyper exposing
Right.
your dog to try to fix the problem. But sometimes it's better to like take a step back, socialize from a distance, learn
Right.
about your dog, figure out if there is a
Yes.
problem. Is it all in your head? Talk to other
Yep.
trainers about it, and then work on it slowly and carefully, and not just, torture your puppy, meeting tons and tons of dogs, taking them to a dog park, trying to get them used to something, thinking exposure equals socialization, and exposure does not. Yeah. What were you going
Right.
to say? Sorry.
And you might also break the trust between you and your puppy. The puppy does not trust you. If you keep pushing your puppy to be in very uncomfortable situations, the puppy might not trust you to make decisions anymore. And that's how sometimes problems start, where the puppy feels that, or the dog feels that they have to take matters into their own hands because you didn't show the kind of leadership that you should be showing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just let
And
many puppy classes too, like there are group puppy classes that the puppies all just get thrown together,
right.
and if a puppy is scared, the instructor will be like, oh, your puppy's a baby, just let them deal with it. And that is not the kind of puppy class I would ever be in. And my puppy
Yes.
class instructor, when Neon was nervous, put her with a small dog, and so Neon had a friend, and then Neon also got to play with her dog that's like a retired a, a guide dog, super chill, nice dog. And rather than like throw Neon in with a bunch of large dogs that are going to pummel her and traumatize her and cause a problem for life.
Yep. That is correct. And like if you see the puppy or the dog like afraid of something, let's say the dog across the street, your dog does not like him or is like afraid of him or sees him as a threat. Uh, there's this idea that, hey, put your dog in a heel position and just go towards the threat. And it's a very flawed idea, because in the dog's mind, it does not make any sense for you to be walking towards a threat. And like I said, like this is comes down, it causes trust issues between the dog and you. Like,
Yeah.
okay, your dog has enough obedience to put him in heel position and go past that threat, but you walking towards the threat, it just does not make sense in any way. So that's why you got to take a step back and kind of deal with the problem in a reasonable and logical way. It's okay, you're afraid of that thing, just you have nothing to worry about. We're not going to walk towards it. We're over here, we're safe, and I got your back, I protect you. And feel trust and relationship building is very important with puppies. Like if you don't do anything other than crate training, potty training, and manage your dog and prevent like the rehearsal of like unwanted behaviors and build a relationship with your dog, I feel like that's enough. Like you have a great dog.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do you do for relationship building?
Oh, I love play. That's my favorite. Um, I guess you gotta kind of find what your dog really loves. Like Chloe, when she was a puppy, since she was a puppy, she's obsessed with toys. So I spent a great amount of time just kind of establishing her play, especially with Fetch and Tug. She liked them both. And it was by far the best thing I did in terms of like building a relationship together. And it's what a great thing. I mean, it's exercise, relationship building, and it also teaches you how to kind of teaches the dog how to listen to you when they're in that state of high arousal and when there's toys involved. So it's a win-win. I love play. What about you?
I mean, I like play, tug, fetch, and I like teaching tricks. And I like just like I like hiking with them and just moving as a unit with them and enjoying their company, I think. So taking them new places, not to socialize, but just to like go together
Right.
and have new experiences.
Yes. And also like you being in a place where you don't allow bad things to happen to them, whether it's like interactions with strange dogs, whether it's interactions with strange people. Um, so there's this idea that puppies or dogs have to meet every dog on a walk, and people let their dogs drag them towards you and your dog. And I feel it's very wrong. We teach kids to have this mentality of stranger danger. I'm not saying that we have to teach dogs that are stranger danger, but we gotta kind of protect the dog because you never know that's what that strange dog is capable of. Your puppy has a bad experience and he's scarred for life. So you gotta be able to protect them and have an inner circle of few dogs that you know and you trust and they're appropriate and you know they play well with your dog. Have them have awesome play dates together. I don't understand what the face-to-face meeting with strange dogs is going to benefit. It's not going to
Yeah.
benefit anyone. Yeah.
So my sister, one of my sisters, not the trainer sister, another sister borrowed my dog for a hike this week when I was away. And she said she was hiking with her, and a woman approached with three insane dachshunds. And she was like, they're friendly, they're friendly. And my sister was like, didn't know what to say. And she's like, she's a rescue, she's a rescue, and I don't own her. She didn't know how to tell this because the woman wouldn't take like no for an answer.
Yep.
It was just like the woman was compelled to let her out of control dog's approach. And even though my sister said she's a rescue, I don't own her, like kind of two lies.
Yeah.
The woman still like let her very small dogs approach my dog that's like 3 times their size. And they were barking at her. And she's cool, but what was the point? What is the
Right.
point?
What is the point? Exactly. Like nobody's having fun. I mean, it's like, it's just weird. Yeah. Um, Puppy biting or mouthing. That's a biggie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a complicated topic, right? Because some puppy biting is normal. And it's very normal, and it actually will just go away if you keep redirecting and interrupting. And there's not like much to it. And then we do have some clients, and some of them are probably in here, where they have had puppies that bite to an extent that's abnormal, and they have a dog that has an intrinsic behavior disorder. And so it can be hard to tell like what is normal and what is abnormal with puppy biting. I guess we could start there.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
what's normal? What's normal
I
for
mean,
your dog?
what's normal is the puppy is gonna bite the living crap out of you. So I think that's normal. However, like of course you gotta be able to manage it and like always have toys on you or food on you to redirect and don't give the puppy a lot of freedom or a lot of chances for them to bite you. So if you're playing with them, feeding them, training them, walking them, um, potty breaks, or they're in their crate or playpen. Like that freedom, the puppy is like loose and around me all the time. That's only gonna cause problems and issues. And your puppy might chew on things that you don't want them to chew on. Your puppy might swallow things you don't want them to swallow. The puppy might come and start biting you. Um, so it's only a recipe for disaster to like give the puppy freedom. I know some people think like, hey, it's not fair and puppy is spending lots of time in their crate or playpen, but puppies need to sleep, like you said, 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
So yeah, enrichment activities,
Yeah.
frozen topples, gongs, chews, interactive toys, snuffle nets, all those stuff, like keep the puppy busy so they don't get in that habit of like keep biting you. But redirecting is my favorite, and when everything fails, like interruption doesn't work, redirecting is not working, I just put the puppy away,
Yeah.
gently put them away. Yeah. And give them something else that you want.
So some of the bad things then that I know I've seen people do with a puppy when they're biting is they'll like grab the puppy's nose and squeeze, or stick their hand in the puppy's mouth, and or grab the puppy by the scruff and get mad at them, or hold the puppy down,
Oh,
yell at the puppy. We have a
oh,
trainer here who she takes bitter apple spray and actually sprays it in the puppy's face if
oh,
they play bite. That's a bad one. So if your puppy is playing with you with their mouth, they're just trying to be your friend, and they're just doing what's normal. So if you attack them, you are going to create like fear and potentially anger, depending on the dog. So we highly recommend that you do not lose your cool, and you either redirect, or you just like remove yourself from the situation and put them in the
exactly.
crate.
Exactly. If you feel you're getting frustrated, just put them in the crate or in the playpen or behind the gate, like something. Like, don't pin your puppy down. That's the worst. Or like punish them for those stuff. Like, it's
Yeah.
the worst thing you can ever do. It's gonna damage your relationship with your puppy. The puppy is not gonna trust you. It's gonna be wary of you and potentially other people. So it's like, and the puppy is only trying to initiate play or like interact with you. That's the way they interact with the world. And I know their teeth are sharp, but if at any point you feel like this is building up and you're getting frustrated, just put them away.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
And
Yeah.
if it's really bad, hire a trainer. Like I
Right.
am a I'm a pretty good dog trainer, and I take my dog to class, and I've taken every dog I've ever owned to puppy class and puppy socialization. And so if I if I either see a behavior and I'm in too deep because it's my own dog and I am, not reading it right or something, my colleague can say like, "Hey, I think we need to work on this." Or um, if I'm getting paranoid about something, she can be like, "Hey, you need to chill. You have an awesome dog." And so I
Yes.
think so many people want to do puppy training alone, and they're not even a dog trainer, and it's a mistake. Like you've done an intensive program with your dog, like to learn, and there's always
Right.
something to learn. So I would say uh,
Absolutely.
everybody with a dog, if you can afford it, and you should be able to afford it because nearly all Petcos and humane societies offer low cost classes too. Like everybody should take puppy class to get a second set of eyes on their puppy. A good puppy class. Don't take a
I
crappy
agree.
one. And then as far as abnormal biting
Not
goes,
not the city of San Carlos one.
not the city of San Carlos. That is bad. Although it is low cost, it will ruin your dog. So abnormal biting with a puppy, it can be hard to spot, and it would look like a puppy that is more angry than playing. It would look like constant frenzied biting. It would be a puppy that is suddenly like going from I'm kind of playing to like I'm attacking you and I'm vocalizing and I'm hysterical, like almost like rage. It can be normal if you have a puppy like Georgie at 8 weeks old. If you went to pick her up, she would get really pissed off and bite you. And that is normal-ish, but that's something that now is something that needs to be worked on and cannot be ignored. Um, like resource guarding biting, not good, needs to be taken seriously if you see it at 8 weeks old. A puppy where you go to
100%.
brush them and they go to bite you, and it's not that they're playing and biting the brush, they're angry, that would be like a red flag too. At the vet, if the puppy goes to bite the vet, major red flag. Either your vet's doing something wrong or it's your puppy or both. I don't know. Any others you could think of? Oh,
Right.
if you're petting the puppy and they get mad. If a puppy gets mad at somebody in the family approaching them or petting them, major red flag too. Any
Right.
others? I'm probably missing some.
No, but everything you said is great. But also a lot of people can't, like you said, differentiate between what's normal and what's abnormal. And that's where trainers come in and can tell the difference. A lot of the times people
Yeah.
feel that the puppy is abnormal biting when it's just normal puppy biting.
Yeah.
Someone asked a question before I forget. It's how to socialize a puppy before they have all their shots. Um, if you wait for the puppy until they have all their shots to socialize them, you already missed that boat. Um, if you want to be extra safe, You can hold the puppy and just feed them when they see other dogs, when they see people. Go outside, I don't know, Home Depot or Lowe's, sit in the parking lot and feed your puppy over there. Take your puppy outside the dog park and hold them like from behind the fence and feed them on walks and stuff like that. However, with my personal dogs or dog, I don't feel that I need to wait until they have all their shots. I take them out. I avoid high traffic areas like dog parks or areas where I know there's a lot of dogs. But like in my neighborhood, it's pretty safe. I take them out and walk them and have them get exposed to different things in the world. And the more you expose them at that period of time, the more confident they're going to be and the less problems they're going to have in the future. And that's why we can't focus enough on socialization. Expose them to as many things as you can, as many things as possible, without, of course, overstimulating them and putting them into that high anxiety situation.
Yeah.
Feel free to add.
It's the same. I mean, it's about risk benefit analysis. You know, the risk of me exposing my puppy to parvo, which is like the main concern, is low in my neighborhood where I live. And the risk of me having a puppy that cannot be around people and other dogs and be safe is very high if I choose not to socialize them.
Yes.
And so when I lived in like LA, in the not the best neighborhood, I was pretty hesitant to put my puppy down on the ground and socialize him. You know, I could have done a better job of it, but it just wasn't a safe place. There were stray dogs, whatever. Here where I live now, all my neighbors' dogs are vaccinated. I live in a town where people take really good care of their animals. My puppy is from a breeder, is up to date on her vaccines, has been fed good food her whole life. I'm very careful with her vaccination schedule. I don't take her to some place where we're going to be running into unvaccinated animals. I take her to places where there are no animals. So I like to go to like TJ Maxx with my puppy or Home Depot, places where I know that the floor is clean
Right.
and it's not going to have anything on it. Or I take them to my family's house, or I take them to friends' houses. I took her to the animal shelter with me to socialize, which you may say, oh my God, an animal shelter disease. Absolutely not. We've never had any kind of disease in the shelter. And we sanitize with crazy stuff every single day, multiple times a day. So if anything, it's a safer place for her to be in an environment that's sanitized like that. So if you can take your puppy to work at an office, that's a good place to go. Any place you can think of where you go and you feel the disease risk is low or nothing is a good place to socialize a puppy, as long as it's not going to overwhelm them.
100%. And again, I saw a bunch of questions about puppy biting. It's interrupt, redirect, and move yourself away or put the puppy away. And as we said, if you're not actively engaging with a puppy or taking the puppy out pottying or training or playing with a puppy or doing fun stuff, don't give the puppy access to you or your body, like in terms of them being free and have nothing to do other than bite you. That's and it gets to a certain. I feel like anything after 7 months, if they still like really nipping and biting at you, hire a trainer, seek help.
Oh
It's
yeah.
it's not normal, you know. It's yeah.
So when did your puppy outgrow puppy biting?
I think after teething, it became significantly better. I mean, she would still try to mouth on me a little bit when we're playing and stuff like that, but I always redirect her and kind of show her that this is not what I want. And then she was mature enough where she realizes, like, hey, like, this is not the right thing to do. And that was that.
Except when she's playing ball.
Except when he's playing ball. And that I allow because I want her to be crazy and enthusiastic about her ball. So I'm like, cool, it's fine.
It's cute.
That's all good.
Yeah,
It's cute. It's very cute.
I think my dogs tend to outgrow my puppies have outgrown puppy biting at like between 4 to 5 months. It's done. So when you have like people that your puppy is like 10 months old and they're still biting, it's not really puppy biting anymore. It's something else. It's like frustration or over arousal.
Right. Right. Introducing a puppy to a dog, to an existing dog that you have in the house, and what are the big things to watch out for? How do you do it?
So I think we get a lot of calls for people that get a puppy, think it's going to go great, and it goes really badly, like, and sometimes really, really badly. So number one is to know your adult dog. And many adult dogs, number one, are not good with dogs, and yet people still get a puppy. And that's not to say we can't fix it and we can't get their dog to be okay with a new dog. But it is a big red flag if you have a dog that's never been socialized and now you get a puppy. Um, and then, I think the biggest mistake people make is they get the puppy home and they just put the puppy down on the ground and they don't know how their dog is going to act with a young puppy. And it goes really bad really quickly. Either the dog that they have is overwhelmed and anxious and like obsessed with the puppy, playing too rough and scaring the puppy, or their adult dog is like, what the hell, and attacks the puppy and injures it. So I see that.
Yep. Or the puppy is so obnoxious, and the older dog is very permissive, and just he takes all the beating from the puppy, and that's also bad. It teaches it teaches the puppy that it's okay to do that to other dogs, and
Yeah.
it's tough. That's where you have to step in and kind of guard or shield your older dog and your
Yeah.
puppy, because even if your older dog is taking and accepting it from your puppy, he might get to a point where like, screw this, I'm correcting you, and then it's
Yeah.
going to be all bad. So you want to kind of separate them as much as possible until you have enough obedience and control over your puppy. And if your current dog is not fully trained, don't get a puppy. And by fully trained, I mean that your dog listens to you and knows, I don't know, place command, crate, and is good with other dogs. And you can call him off things, and you can control him when he's around other dogs and in high states of arousal and stuff like that. Getting a puppy is a big mistake. So get your
Yeah.
first dog in order and your training in order and everything. When everything is going smoothly and you feel like, hey, my dog is ready, then it will be the time. And I think it's hard to achieve that unless your dog is, I don't know, 2 years old. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Georgie's 2, and then I guess Lev was 6 when I got Georgie. And I also don't recommend I don't recommend having 2 socially immature animals at once. Like 2 socially immature dogs, they can develop like a weird pecking order, and 2 puppies at once, like even a new puppy and a 1-year-old or a 1.5-year-old, they can play so much and so hard and not be able to regulate that it quickly tips into weird fighting. We also see a ton of dogs who there are 2 puppies raised together and they bully each other over resources, and they start to get really pissed off when they both hit like teenagehood and they start to fight wickedly or redirect on each other. So that's important.
Yeah. 100%. Kind of managing resources between the puppy and your older is very important. Make sure that one is not stealing the other dog's stuff, and make sure that you keep it kind of equitable between the two, and also careful with dogs that might get jealous from the puppy.
Oh
So
yeah.
try to, yeah, and then problems will start. And with the first introduction, you mentioned that all the time, Gia, and you say that behind gates or on walks outside, that should be the first introduction, and don't give them freedom too soon, or too early. Just wait.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no rush. Like, you have a lifetime for them to like
Right.
each other. You don't have to have it happen
Right.
that day. So I
Right.
think like there are some dogs that are really nice and you can put a puppy down with them and they are not going to hurt that puppy. And unfortunately, like many people think they have that dog and they don't, you know?
Right. True.
So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I brought my puppy in her carrier, and Lev was super excited because he thought it was a kitten, and then he realized it wasn't. He was like, God damn it. And then yeah, I had the puppy in my arms or in her crate or behind a pen or on the leash outside, and was just very careful to not let her, um, just very careful not to let the puppy get herself into any trouble innocently going up to an adult dog with a resource, or an adult dog that didn't want to be bothered.
Right. Right. And also, other subject would be with puppies to work on is building engagement and focus, kind of rewarding the dog for looking at you, for engaging with you, and stuff like that. The other mistake I see a lot of people make is not distinguishing the recall cue from the dog's name.
Oh,
So they
yes.
have the dog's name as a recall cue, which often doesn't work because you use your name for a lot of things. You use your name, the dog's name, when you're mad at them, when they're doing something good, or to call them, or to redirect them. So I don't like that. Separate your recall cue from your dog's name. They're two separate skills that we teach, and each one has its own benefits.
My puppy didn't even have a name.
That's
Do you
very true.
remember? For a whole
I
month.
remember. Yeah, I remember. And recalls is also one of the things we start working on very early, in addition to engagement. And play, like we mentioned, play retrieve, play tug. One of the big tips for retrieve, I saw someone mention in the questions, is to have two balls, and you toss one little close and then kind of attract the puppy to come back to you, and show them the other ball. When they drop it, toss the other one in the opposite direction. So you're kind of in the middle and you're tossing balls kind of in both directions. And that will kind of make the puppy bring the ball closer and closer to you. What else?
Um, I like to have like long tug toys that are, several feet long, so I can toss them out and reel the puppy in to play a game of tug. That's a good one.
That's perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Flirt poles, you sent me some recommendations for flirt poles. They were all of them. I mean, they're great, especially when there are kids in the house to play with the puppy.
yeah.
Yeah.
What other toys do I like? Yeah, I like tug toys, soft floppy frisbees that I can roll and tug with. And then um yeah, balls, tug toys, all that. Pieces of fur, fabric.
Right.
Nothing that looks
Right.
like clothes, but
That's true. And also to like the toys that the puppy can have when they're by themselves or on their own to play with are different than the ones I bring out to play with me. And
oh
that's a big
yes.
thing. Yeah. So let's say the toy that I play fetch with them, and when we're done, I put it away. And it only comes out when I'm actively playing and engaging with them. And same thing with tug. They can have their own toys to play with, but those are separate from the ones that are with me. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think now we can take some of the questions that we didn't answer, unless you have
All right.
anything else to add.
No, we can look. Let's see.
Okay, those are some of the questions that came in with the stories. I'm gonna start with one. Um, why does my 1-year-old pup still bite me whenever we get ready to go out?
I mean, I don't know.
Bite my shoes, sorry, when
Oh,
they're ready to get out. Like, is it over arousal? Is it
I mean, we would have to like see your dog doing it to know, but my guess would be that your dog is over aroused and doing like a weird kind of herding or control thing. So that behavior is kind of common in border collies where they'll bite your shoes when you're getting ready to go out. Um, oh, do you mean? I wonder if they mean going out together or if they're going out by themselves and their dog is getting upset that they're
oh,
leaving.
I thought I understood it. The going out together. That's the way I understood it.
That's what
I
I
think
thought.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, you might want to put your shoes on and not go out for a walk. Just put her on and hang out in the house, so it doesn't signal that hey, you're going out and something very exciting is going to happen. So
Yeah.
that's one way to do it, maybe.
Or just work on place stay and work on your dog staying on place while you put your shoes on and off.
Right, 100%. And how to deal with nipping for attention.
Um, well, I would walk away when they do it and ignore them and shut myself in a room and see if they learn real quick that nipping me makes me go away.
Right.
Or I would pick
I
up
love that.
my dog will sometimes in the house like go up and nip you if she wants to play with a toy with you, and then I pick the toy up and I put it up high and it's gone. So if you bite me, your toy, if you bite me when I'm not playing with you, that your toy goes away.
I
There's a
like that.
mosquito. There's a mosquito flying around. I can hear it. I'm traumatized.
Oh my God, you're not sleeping. The worst thing that happens when you're sleeping and it comes and just, like it buzzes in your ear. Kitchen
I'll have
counter
to find it.
surfing. Kitchen counter
Kitchen counter
surfing.
servicing.
Trying to utilize place, but when my back is turned, there he is. He goes to counter surf again. How do you deal with that?
So I keep my counters as clean as possible, so that they never get anything off the counter. If I catch them on the counter, I walk into their space and I ignore them. So I don't like tell them off and reward them with a treat. I literally walk. I don't like steamroll them aggressively, but I walk into their space and put them right off. Um, is that force free? I don't know. And I also have a gate, and my dogs are not allowed in the kitchen without me, unless it's like one of the adult dogs. Like the puppy, there is no world where she is allowed to be in the kitchen and poke around if I'm not supervising her. What do you do?
Right. I think the big thing is like to make sure that the dog does not get reinforced for counter surfing. And again, and also like the place bed thing is a separate issue. I feel like it's maybe work on your place bed, like you leaving for a little bit and coming back, and you can work on that and proof it and make it like the dog can't break your place bed when you're away. Um, but with counter surfing, there's two ways. Either you're gonna make sure that the dog does not get reinforced for counter surfing, and I feel preventing the behavior is a lot easier than undoing the behavior, because undoing the behavior is gonna take some aversion. You know, a lot
Yeah.
of people use like they toss, I don't know, shaker cans out of nowhere when the dog is counter surfing, or they use e-collars and they go to like, I don't know, different kinds of things which are which are not my favorite to do.
I would say like one tool that I do kind of like is something called SCAT, which is pressurized air in a can with a motion detector, which I will probably be utilizing when my construction is done to keep my cats off of the kitchen counters where they will no longer be allowed. And so I think with a behavior that can be dangerous, like counter surfing, and like counter surfing can be dangerous if you're in a household with children. I know a lot of dogs that have eaten pills off counters, or vitamins, or
Right.
like raisin bread. One of my clients' dogs ate a loaf of raisin bread recently, and it was really bad, actually. So I think, like, in the grand scheme of punishment, something that is not attached to you, that doesn't cause pain, and is very clear and consistent, is something that, for extreme counter serving that you can't fix, might be something that some people would use, and I wouldn't judge for it.
Right. How to manage to walk with a dog who doesn't really care about my treats.
I mean, well, if we're talking about puppies, you really should be working to develop a relationship with your puppy by feeding them their food, for simple tasks every single day, using puzzle toys and enrichment to build that food drive. And then getting high value rewards and high value foods and using those outside and just working in your front yard and getting simple obedience and simple focus good in your front yard before you try feeding them on a walk. Like if you
Right.
can't have your dog eagerly taking kibble in the house for simple behaviors, you're going to be screwed on a walk. And so you really need to work like at the things that are easier that you can have success at and get those good, and then move to the front yard or your porch or whatever, get that good, and then try to work on a walk. And also when I'm walking, I bring like meat,
Right.
even with
That's
little
awesome.
puppies. So many people are like, what treats are good for puppies? Like, pretty, they can eat anything an adult dog eats, just like a child with teeth can eat anything a human like adult eats, like small portions.
That is true. And also, it's like easy to feed like the freeze-dried raw stuff. I feel like all puppies love them, and they're like high value, and they're like complete food, and you can use them for training and feeding and stuff like that. Um, puppies jumping on the couch for people who don't want it to be on the couch.
What a monster. No, I'm just kidding. I have a no dog couch myself. Well, what would you do?
Um, I didn't have a problem with my puppy being on the couch. However, I taught her how to come off the couch. When I don't want her on the couch, I tell her to go off, and she's off the couch. When I want her to come on the couch, I tell her to come on. So teaching those and kind of on and off cues help a lot. That's one option. The other option would be is to block them from coming on the couch or putting them in an X pen when they're like with you in the room, but and they're included with you, but they're in their X pen doing their own thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's really hard to effectively teach them not to go on a piece of furniture if they're loose and unattended, because they will go up at some point,
right.
unless you're using some kind of punishment. Like it's very hard. Um, yeah, I remember I went through a phase where I got a really nice new couch and I wasn't going to let them on the couch, and it was going really well. But when I would leave and come home, there'd always be a warm little spot on the couch. So even though he'd be like on the floor or like in his bed when I got home, I knew. And sometimes it's just easier to manage a situation than like be mean to your dog to get them to be a certain way.
Right, right. Uh, Puppy leash training. It's one of many people mentioned it, and with puppies, typically I don't use collars. I like harnesses because it's very hard to have a puppy not pull on leash. So if they pull on the harness, it's manageable. It's not a big deal. They're not going to hurt themselves. They're going to choke themselves. Also, if you allow your puppy to pull a lot on their collar, you're going to desensitize their neck, and it's going to become calloused. And later on, if you ever want to use a collar, any kind of collar, it might not be as effective. So use a harness and just kind of manage them in a way where you have food on you. Don't let them kind of pull and drag you on the harness and stuff like that. I even sometimes use a long line or flexi to like kind of take the puppy out without them pulling and doing things like that. Um, and then later on, you can use a front clip harness and kind of build value on like them being around you and like engage with you, use their food for leash walking and to have them kind of focused on you. What do you think?
I mean, I do exactly that.
Okay, cool. Any other questions that or your questions are not here? Okay.
Uh,
I don't know if
let's
you
look
can
at the
see them.
question. Well, there's the questions in there's a bunch in the question box.
Okay,
Oh, tips for a dog's first heat. I could do that.
absolutely, go for
So,
it.
uh, I spayed Vera when I think she was 3, and Lev isn't neutered, and the younger Georgie and Neon are not spayed, and maybe they will be sometime, maybe they won't. And I think it isn't a big deal that people make it out to be. So in the US, like, oh my God, your dog's not spayed. That's gross. What do you do? Um, you'd be surprised by how easy it is. Some dogs are really naturally clean. And so my dogs, they don't make any kind of mess. They keep themselves clean. And I just put a towel down in their crate in case they like have a few spots on their bed so I can keep that clean. But the most important thing is just when your dog is in heat, like knowing what it looks like. And you could read about that online. There's like really great guides to each week. And then just making sure you do not leave your dog unattended outside or unattended with a male dog that's not neutered, even for like a split second. And you do not take your dog to a dog park or a place where there are going to be loose dogs. So it's just about for a week or two managing, or not even a week or two, it's really for a few days where it's going to be a problem. Not taking your dog places where there's going to be other dogs to expose her to, and then figuring out if your dog is a clean dog that's going to need to wear dog panties, or if your dog is clean and doesn't need to wear them, or if you should probably buy a ton of them and have them ready to go. Not a big deal.
Right, not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
Not a big deal. And someone asked also about teaching a puppy in no. I made a video recently about like kind of a little bit of impulse control on the crate door. It's when the puppy tries to lunge out of the crate door, I kind of gently close the crate. And I say no when I gently close the crate. That's how they learn typically what no means. And also by like withholding reward, like I mentioned earlier. If they're trying to jump on me, I have a treat. I don't reward them for it. I say no. And when they relax or sit down, I reward them for it. Frustration tolerance is one of the big things I feel like with puppies. Once you get a puppy, you kind of should establish a baseline to see what are the thresholds look like. Do they have a low threshold? They don't tolerate things and they kind of frustrate easily and they bark easily at things, or they have a high threshold. And you can make a training plan based on those. You can always kind of bring low threshold dog a little up and high threshold dog maybe bring a little down, but how much difference you're going to make, it really depends on the dog.
Are there any games you do for frustration tolerance specifically?
Specific games I don't, but I feel like all the impulse control games kind of are in a way raising thresholds. Like when I have the puppy wait at doorways, when I have the puppy wait at a crate door, when I have the puppy wait to get to their food bowl, eat their food, and also like some of the games that we showed where like I might toss a piece of food and gently hold the puppy, and then maybe like I have them wait a little bit, or like offer me a sit once they know what sit means, and then tell them to get the piece of food, stuff like that. And also during play is a big thing where I love play because it's one of the places where your dog is aroused or frustrated, and then you ask for simple behavior like a sit, and once they sit, okay, you get your ball.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly how I feel too.
I'm glad.
So let's see, what else do we got? So many questions.
Resource guarding.
Resource guarding.
It's a big topic. Like it's a really big topic, and it's like we mentioned, it has a really strong genetic disposition, genetic resource guarding. So if you happen to have a dog or a puppy that's showing some resource guarding, do not mess with the resources. Don't keep kind of poking that bruise. If they show you that they're uncomfortable, actually you need to do the opposite. You need to make them feel that you're not going to mess with the resources. Like we showed in some of our videos, the puppy has a resource, I walk up to them, I might toss a piece of food, I might just hang out and ignore them and just look somewhere else, and then they relax, nothing happens, I walk away. Simple as that. And then they realize that, oh, like him coming up to me or walking up to me does not mean that they're going to mess with my resource or take my resource away. And eventually they're going to get comfortable, and I might be able to look at them, and then later I might be able to touch them, and everything is fine. And also value transfer. Like if your puppy has something, we tend to like run at them and grab the thing out of their mouth. So I like to do is like say drop and present a reward. They drop the item and I give them a treat for dropping the item, and I put the item away. And sometimes they don't even notice that I took the item that they had.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, where did it go? It disappeared. That guy is a magician.
Yeah, it's about just non-confrontation and making it not a big deal and a fun thing to be traded or
Right,
for you to approach.
right. 100%.
And if you have a dog that resource guards, it would be good to hire a professional, especially if you have little kids at home, because they cannot control themselves around a dog with a resource, or the dog is going to grab one of their toys and they're going to forget. And it's terrible, you know, for a child to get bitten by a dog and feel like they did something to make their dog get in trouble or have to be rehomed. Um,
Right.
there is a book called Mine by Jean Donaldson, which has a very easy to follow like protocol for dogs that resource guard. And it's something I'll recommend to clients because rather than have me go through multiple lessons with them, they can work through the book if they're a self-starter and help fix resource guarding themselves.
Sounds great. Somebody asked you, my German Shepherd was just diagnosed with a rare condition called fibrotic myopathy. Can you tell me more about MagnaWave and Aquapause? Is it worth it?
Yeah. So I have a few different like rehab machines at my house. I have a MagnaWave, and the MagnaWave is awesome. It's a PEMF, a pulse electromagnetic field device. They are expensive. You can sometimes rent them, or you can see if anybody has one in your area that's willing to, you know, that you can hire them to do sessions. I find that it really helps my dogs with their pain or discomfort or soreness from exercise. And I used it on myself and I feel a difference. My brother had sciatica really bad and he was coming over every day and using it and he loved it. And like racehorse people and performance people swear by it. It's a really popular product with performance animals. So MagnaWave for anything physical, yes, absolutely. And I also have a laser, like a professional grade laser. Most veterinarians have them. Cold laser is awesome for physical pain and wound healing and stuff like that. So I do recommend, especially if you have insurance, your veterinarian, it may be covered. And then the Aquapause treadmill is amazing. I'm very, very fortunate that I can have one in my home. And water treadmills are like the best possible way to exercise a dog for almost all issues, including healthy dogs. It's because the water creates buoyancy, so the pet is not having like concussive, it's not concussive like a land treadmill. And there's also the resistance of the water. And so 15 minutes in the water treadmill is equal to an hour on land. And it's without the kind of damage that moving on land can do. And if a pet is becoming paralyzed or has any kind of paralysis or gait problem, the water really helps hold them up. So while the Aquapause can be something that would be like both space and cost prohibitive to have at home, often, especially if you have insurance, you can find a facility that your dog can go 2 to 3 times a week to exercise with a tech. And I would highly recommend it for all dogs, but especially a dog with your dog's specific issue. And I would also recommend that you see like a rehab vet to really give you a good idea of what is possible to help mitigate your dog's issue. And I hope that helps.
I mean, you're the best person I can think of who can like give such advice about those kind of things.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I am crazy about my dog's health.
no, you're awesome in so many things. So
Thank you.
and someone mentioned here, sorry, where was that question? About a puppy biting children. I feel like flirt poles are great for that, especially tell your children to not move their legs, just stand still and move the flirt pole and make the flirt pole exciting instead of with them moving their feet and then the puppy was gonna chase her feet. and stuff like that. Um,
And you can even have your child stand behind a gate, or
right,
stand like behind a fence on a stool so that your puppy cannot possibly jump on them or knock them down, especially if they're becoming fearful.
right. And then someone asked about how to make my puppy cuddle with me. Like she cuddled up to 3 months old. What do you think? Chloe is not a cuddler, and that's who she is. I just accept it. And
I mean, you say that, but she is a little bit of a cuddler, right?
she, I mean, she's I don't know. Like to me, maybe yeah, a little bit, but to some people, they might like no, that's she's not a cuddler at all.
I
Yeah,
think I think it's important. I think some dogs, yeah, they're not going to be a natural cuddler, or they're not going to like to be touched a lot. And it's important to respect the dog's choices, especially because if you have a little puppy and they don't like to cuddle, which is very normal for puppies and very normal for young children, that they get very overstimulated by confinement. Um, if you have a puppy that's like that, there is a chance that they will outgrow it. But if you push the issue when they're in that phase, you will cause them never to outgrow it and for them to not like you grabbing them and approaching them. So if you really desire a dog that cuddles, and that is like a go-to for you, number one, I would pick a breed that likes to cuddle. And there are some that are like that, like Whippets, Italian Greyhounds, Toy Poodles. There's lots of breeds that are like that. Um, and if you have a dog already and you want them to cuddle and you feel like they might not be, so number one is do not mess with them or you'll ruin it. Number two is think about what cuddling looks like, and we can teach them to be more tolerant of touch, and we can teach them to like put their head on our leg. We can teach them to sit in our lap. We can teach them to be okay with a hug using treats and using like tricks. And I posted a video of my friend Amy and her dog Parker, because her dog did not like to be touched and handled. And she taught a chin rest on her leg and then a chin rest on her lap. And now he actually seeks it out and he's cool with it. And it's a trained behavior.
I know. I saw that video. It's cool.
What would you do
Dog sniff.
about that? About the cuddling
Um,
thing?
I don't. I hate. I personally hate dogs being forced into cuddling. Because it's very stressful, and they feel like they're strained, and you're forcing them into that position. I mean, it's not fun for them, and it might cause problems. The dog might snap, the dog might growl, and it's a whole like bunch of issues. So why do it? It's dog sniffing while walking on a lead. I'm not sure. Is there a plot? Last I checked, I thought dogs sniff. Like what's and that's a very normal, natural behavior, and dogs are allowed to sniff.
I mean,
But
there's a lot of videos on Instagram about how your dog shouldn't be allowed to sniff on a walk. Have you seen them?
like, okay, if your dog is sniffing and dragging you to sniff, that's a different story. But if your dog is stopping to sniff, I mean, it's fine. Just let them enjoy. It's like the dogs. Like, imagine you had this ability to smell things or sniff around and know what was there a day ago, a week ago, a month ago. Was it like you can tell like, hey, a raccoon passed by here, hey, a deer passed by here, hey, there was a dog in heat that passed by yesterday maybe from here, like, hey, that was my friend maybe who peed on this pole. It's like, so it's like such an amazing thing, and such a like, I don't know, it blows my mind like how awesome their senses are. So why take that away from them? Like it's what they like, it's what they enjoy. Just let them explore, let them sniff. Simple.
And so when I'm trying to walk and like exercise, I just keep the leash short and I walk in a place that isn't going to tempt them. So in my neighborhood, I guess we don't really have sidewalks. I just walk in the street and like I move if a car is coming. But if I want them to enjoy, I don't tempt them, in other words. I'm not going to be like, ooh, cake, and you can't have any. So when it's time to sniff, we walk near the grass and I stop and I let them do whatever they want. But if I'm trying to move, then If they're loose, I just keep going and don't worry about them sniffing. Or if they're on
Right.
a leash,
Right.
we walk kind of in the road, so it's concrete and they don't really care, you
Right.
know? It just
Right.
wouldn't be
Right.
fair to tempt them and not allow them to
Right.
partake.
Right. Like if your dog, like I said, is dragging you around just to sniff, that's a different story. Well, you gotta like kind of introduce some structure, just like you said. Maybe don't walk in places where like it tempts them or it's like too arousing for them to sniff. And you might like be able to like build value on them being in heel position and stuff like that. But to say like we don't allow our dogs to sniff is, I don't think is fair. That's that's all.
So Scarlett said, my scent hound can sniff and then offer eye contact to check in without dragging me. We can have lovely walks because I reward her check-ins.
That's
So
awesome.
Scarlett's mom does indeed have some legit scent hounds. And so if she
That's
can do it,
awesome.
you can do it.
That's great. I mean, I love it. Like when you like capture those behaviors, like when a dog offers a behavior and you capture it and then you reward them for it, it's so cool. I mean, it's makes a big difference.
Oh, let's do,
One more question.
yeah, socializing a puppy with children properly. Most of the time, kids end up surrounding the puppy and crowding. And this person, her dog Vesper, we did the collaboration with her. Um, she has, I think she has 7 siblings. I think she has as many as I do. And her dog was struggling with living with a bunch of little kids. So how would you answer her question?
Um, I would protect the dog from the kids at all costs. I'm like, I'll punish the kids. I'll I'll
No.
I'll disconnect the router from the internet. Kids, no internet for you today if you mess with the puppy. um, yeah, it's you don't want the last thing you want is for your dog to become wary of kids or afraid of kids or and then the dog might growl and the dog might bite. You never know. Like it's then the dog's gonna be in trouble, and then it's gonna be this open this whole can of worms that we don't want. So with kids, typically it's cool if you kind of show them how to like train the dog maybe a little bit, like how to have the dog sit and give them a treat, or maybe toss a treat for the dog, and just teach them how to play with the dog instead of always overwhelming and crowding the dog. So give the kids an alternative to do with the dog, like fun stuff. Make them feel that they're involved in the training process, that they're doing something good, they're having fun, the dog is having fun, everybody's having fun.
What are some of the things kids do that seem to like upset dogs, do you think?
Oh, a lot of stuff like sneak up on dogs from behind. That's a big one, and uh, and dogs can get startled, and you never know. Sometimes some dogs can bite. Um, Dogs walking up to dogs when they have kids, sorry, not dogs walking up, kids walking up to dogs when they have resources. Um, Kids, I don't know, it's pushing on dogs and squeezing them and grabbing their tails. So if you have children at home, make sure that you get a dog or a puppy that has some pain tolerance, not a dog that if the child pulls their tail a little bit or touches their ear in a weird way, they're going to snap and bite your child. And there are dogs that have low pain tolerance, and there are dogs that have high pain tolerance.
Well, anything else?
I
Final
think
thoughts?
that's, I think we covered a lot today. Like
Awesome.
yeah, it's, it's always nice to talk to you and discuss things with you.
Yes.
And yeah, and it's funny, dog training never ends. I was thinking about it today. Like it never ends. Like there's always more to learn, and there's always more to teach your dogs, and just it's, and I think it's always going to be this way. And
Yeah.
I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours learning and training dogs and doing things like that. And there are so many things still that I want to learn, and I'm still learning every single day. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And so many good questions tonight. And there's always so
awesome
many good
questions.
questions. Yeah.
Always. Yeah. We're always happy to help, really. And I hope we're making a difference.
Oh, I just wanted to get one more because I noticed somebody is in here and she says, keep doing more of these, please. And she actually asked me in a DM about her puppy who is 9 weeks old, and he's just biting and biting and biting the kids, and it's really hard. And so just to reiterate that one, number one, we said we're going to nap the puppy all the time because the puppy does not need to be loose with the children a lot. We said we're going to do a lot of separation with like crates and gates and pens so that the puppy can like watch what's going on, but not always participate. And we're going to provide opportunities other than biting, like enrichment opportunities, like tons of chew toys. And that doesn't mean like rubber. That means like natural chews, like bully sticks, bones, things like that. So the puppy has an alternative to do. And then your stuffed Kongs and topples and stuff like that. And we're going to teach the children how to appropriately interact and do some basic training stuff with treats. And then we're going to teach the children how to play appropriately with like a flirt pole or even a tug toy, but we're never going to let the kid like push them around or play with their hands with the puppy. And then you said you like to keep the puppy on a leash all the time in the house. And so you can have the puppy on a leash and hold the leash and just not let them chase the children and reward them for checking in with you and reward them for calm behavior.
Right. And I feel a lot of kids like to run ahead of the puppies and make the puppies chase them. And a lot of the times puppies bite their legs and stuff like that. So we don't want to do that. It's not productive. Yeah. All right, Gia.
It was great. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.